Hey, how are you guys? What day is it? Thursday? Thursday! Get your glasses and your popcorn and your whatever beverages. Wine, beer, water, soda, tea. My hair is a little bit out of control right now. Sorry about that. Welcome to my channel. It's Katie Joy without a crystal ball. We are going to have some fun tonight because I was actually just on my social media and noticed that my favorite evangelicals, fundies, Kristen and Bethany, are promoting 136 questions that you need to follow and ask your future husband. And I had the pleasure of watching the video and then downloading it because I knew that you guys were desperately needing to watch this. And I knew that there was going to be some extremely inappropriate questions that they would ask on this questionnaire. And lo and behold, I found them. Now, if you're not familiar with Bethany and Kristen, these two hail from Texas, from a very large, very conservative world where they believe a lot of things that are very problematic, and their favorite things to rail on are related to anything that's not modest, okay? That's just me being very PC. They are very anti-LGBTQ. They're very anti anything touching outside of marriage, any of that. Like, Bethany was 30 plus years old and had never been kissed until she married her husband, Dave. So these two have written some books which are absolutely terrible, and they give horrible advice to people about dating, and they're trying to build an army of thoughtless, mindless human beings that are extremely bigoted. That's their job. So they've unloaded this 136 questions that you need to ask, and I was like, we need to talk about this because their questions are so bad, but their delivery about why you need to watch it is so hilarious because Bethany admits that she and Dave had to ask each other a lot of questions to figure out even if they were compatible. If you have to ask someone so many questions just to figure out if you're compatible, you're probably not compatible. Okay? There's some hard-hitting questions in this on this one, and we're just going to talk about it. So here, I'm going to play some of the video, and then we're going to go through the questions.
Supported by patrons to help us keep going so we can produce weekly content for you. Who $dollars a month, it's not that much. Click the link.
Blah, blah, blah.
Previously, like before Dave, I had been, specifically in one romantic relationship I'm thinking of, I assumed me and this guy were on the same page about a lot of things. And so I just assumed we didn't need to talk about like certain subjects. We didn't need to talk about certain convictions, lifestyles, choices, the future. We talked about a lot, but I just avoided certain topics because I was like, oh, of course we're on the same page. Of course we would need to talk about this. Yeah, and that relationship kind of went down in a small crash and burn fire. I don't know. It didn't end well. Yeah. And a lot of it, I look back and reflect, and I'm like, a lot of it was, I think, could have been avoided if I had been more bold and wouldn't have assumed we were on the same page about certain things because we weren't. And I think both of us just avoided talking about it because you want it to work. You want it to last. And so when Dave came around, I was like...
So apparently this guy, she wrote about it, he dumped her because she wasn't godly enough. I'm not even kidding. That's what she wrote in her blog. Like, he didn't feel as convicted as she was, and he didn't think he could be as conservative as she wanted. Do you want to bet that Bethany actually only had a relationship with this guy in her brain? Do you wonder if he even exists? I have questions.
And I feel like everyone I know, like, where's that list of questions? I get DMs all the time, people asking me about it. So... yeah, I'm really excited about it.
It's a good one. Okay, were there any questions that y'all had major disagreements on?
Oh. And not necessarily.
Okay.
I think, like, when it comes to the topics of, like family planning or contraception or whatever, we went and did a bunch of research on that, and, like, we didn't...
It worked out.
It worked out. But, you know, like,
So, lately on this channel... Girl Defined, they're not getting as many views as they once did. And it's been pretty depressing because Bethany just got married not that long ago and she's pregnant. And Kristen has been married, I think, for 8 or 9 years. And she's had numerous miscarriages. And so there's this sort of juxtaposition right now where Bethany literally just got married and she's already pregnant. She's actually expecting in a couple weeks. And then Kristen navigating these really sad, jealous thoughts that her sister is being able to have a baby and she's not. It's kind of sad, and it's actually kind of like opposite of what these two do, because they try to pretend like they're giving advice to young girls about dating, but they're both no longer young dating people. They're both in their 30s. I think Bethany is 30, 32, 1 or 2, and Kristen's got to be, she's older than Bethany, 33, 34. And again, their target audience are 12-year-old girls. And I really don't know how many 12-year-old girls want to listen to that kind of stuff. It's sad that she's going through that, but at the same time, they're approaching a new point of their lives where you can tell that they're struggling to even put out content that's relevant or even interesting.
Like, thought tons and tons
Right,
about
right.
it. And so
So
that
it's kind
was
of like,
one,
oh, I hadn't really thought about this.
We did a bunch of research on it and stuff. So that was the helpful
Yeah.
part. It's like, oh, rather than like getting married and being like, oh snap, we haven't thought about
Right,
this.
right.
What should we do? And then one person's like, I very strongly want
Right.
this. It's like,
I want no kids. I want 10 kids. Like,
yeah.
it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
So one thing I love about this list is that it's broken up into categories. So like spiritual life, personal relationships, personal habits and perspectives. I mean, moral standards, marital goals. So it's not random, like 136 questions where you're just like, I
That's
don't know
true.
what's gonna happen. You can work through even the categories, which is really helpful. Zach and I didn't have this list, but we had a list. We
I
worked through
remember that.
questions too, and they were really helpful. So
So they're always competing. So Bethany put this list together because she thinks it helped her and Dave find the perfect relationship, even though her husband likes boys. And Kristen is always jealous and has to point out like how much better she is than, like, we had a list too. We just had a different list. They're so they're always competing.
It's just like more organized and
it's more organized.
Yeah.
Now, whenever we talk about this, people are like, well, there's probably a lot of questions that aren't on here. And I'm thinking 136 is a pretty good place to start. But no, this isn't foolproof. It's not every single thing all encompassing that you would ever ask in a relationship. I know for sure working through this is going to be extremely helpful, but there will be things that aren't on here that you'll want to work through, but you need somewhere to start. And this is an awesome way to do it. And
They always say they're not experts, too. This is the thing I think is hilarious. Like, they've written a book called Girl Defined, and their new book that they're promoting is called Love Defined, which I, by the way, downloaded, too. Ha! It's so bad. And they always say, we're not experts. But then they pretend to be experts. Like, these two have no business giving dating advice. All they've done is dated, really. They have no psychology degrees. They have no background or understanding of dating works. They have no sort of proof that these questions will equate to a long-term match or even matter long-term. And some of the questions are so bad, we're going to go through them. It's going to make you cringe.
they like each other, they get really infatuated. They've got that fire. They get really attracted, really infatuated, and then you just want the relationship to work because you like this person so much that you start to not want to ask some of the hard questions. Am I right? Like, you want to avoid some controversial questions because you're like, ooh, I really like this person. I really want this relationship to last. I really want it to work out. And if we talk about our moral standards, that could cause some issues. So we're just going to avoid it. We're not.
Oh, your moral standards. Like, do you like gay people? Like, literally, that would be a question.
There. And then the relationship progresses. These things will come out. That's the thing. They will come out sooner or later. On this side of marriage, on that side of marriage, they will come out. And so you might as well know.
Okay, so that's like them basically explaining why they have to do it. And then Bethany goes on this 15-minute diatribe about how she and Dave worked through all of the questions themselves, and they had to actually have a ton of guidance to determine whether or not they actually were compatible. And I'm thinking, girl, if you have to spend this much time to figure out if you guys need to be married, you probably shouldn't be married. Now, she claims that they are so happy and so in love, but I don't know if I believe that. So here are the 136 questions. Let's just get right to it. You have to actually become, you have to sign up for, in order to get the 136 questions, you have to sign up for their, what do you call it? mailing list. So lucky for you, I did it for you so you don't have to. And here are the questions that they think you need to answer. And there are so many of them. So spiritual life. Would you call yourself a Christian? Would you describe the gospel? What about the Lord's Supper? How important is corporate worship? What would you see as the man's role in the local church? What would our family devotions look like? Now, some of these, if you are a believer, wouldn't be bad. But some of them are just like corporate worship. How do you view age segregation in the church, youth groups, and Sunday school? Like, I don't know that these questions, like segregation in church, would really make or break a relationship. What are your spiritual strengths? Do you have a teachable spirit? Can you give any personal examples? What about participation in church life? Now, some of them are random, but I don't know that these questions specifically are going to help you pick the right partner, right? Personal relationships. Describe your relationship with your mom, your dad. Was it honoring? Like, did you honor them? Can you describe your relationships with your grandparents, your siblings? Can you describe relationships with your friends? Have you ever been peer dependent? How did you resist this? Do you show a regular willingness to serve others? In what ways is self-centeredness expressed in your life? These are weird questions. Like, can you imagine being on a date and being like, what role does self-centeredness play in your life? Like, it's important to know if someone has an ego, but I don't know you need to actually ask that question. If you have a good intuition, you should see right off the bat if the guy is a douche canoe, right? Have you ever been a supervisor? If so, what adjectives would your employees use to describe you? What kinds of situations cause you frustration? What circumstances might make you impatient or angry? I mean, some of these, I feel like if you just took the time to get to know someone without having to ask these questions, you would figure out what makes your partner irritated. Like, my husband doesn't like traffic. My husband gets irritated when the dogs jump on the counter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that it needed to be a discussion. I've just learned over the years. But these people have to get married. They always get married super fast. So it wouldn't surprise me that they have to go through these checklists in order to, figure it out really fast. And Bethany was in a really big hurry to get married, which is why she ended up marrying her Dov. Oh, he dropped the E to be pretentious. How do you handle your anger? Have you ever been violent? Have you ever had to deal with broken relationships? Did your parents get divorced? Please provide details of that relationship, the situation, and how you handled it. Now, these aren't like super bad, but personal habits and perspectives. What are your beliefs regarding diet? Are your eating habits disciplined? And do you have food dislikes? Are you a vegetarian? Because you can't have gluttony, right? So you can't date someone like that really likes food. Do you have any physical or mental disabilities or diseases? Are you kidding me? Are you really going to ask that question? And then it's followed up by any allergies. Mental disabilities. Like, do you have anxiety or depression? Do you smoke? Are your spending habits disciplined? Do you tithe? What is your view on debt? Do you have a high standard of excellence? What's your work ethic? Do you travel with your job? What is your discipline in studying? Do you regularly? If so, what? Do you read regularly? Yes, I read the Bible every day. Do you, who is your favorite author? God. God is my favorite author. Outside the Bible, what would be the 5 favorite nonfiction books? Do you follow a regular schedule? Are you organized? Are you messy or neat? You know what? Spend some time with people and you'll figure this out. None of these are like groundbreaking questions. Not one of these. Not one. Okay. Marital roles. Now, these two love to pretend like they love marital roles. They love to pretend Like they are all about traditional roles, but both of them have jobs and are super bossy and really opinionated. So they are not like your biblical wife. They are the opposite of your biblical wife, because if they were biblical wives, they wouldn't have a job. So it says, do you tend to be a leader or a follower in making decisions? What role does God's word play? What is your view on the role of a wife? What are your views considering divorce and remarriage? The dreaded D word. Can you tell me your thoughts on how a man should provide for a wife and family? So, Steve, I just need to tell you, you're going to be making all the money in this family. Can you tell me what your job will be? And is it going to be 6 figures? Because if not, I have to go. Mind you, these two girls both work and have jobs. Okay? How do you feel about guns? What does that have to do with a marital role? Are you kidding me? How do you see the future relationship with your in-laws working out? How do you relate to children? What's your attitude towards adopting children? What are your thoughts on family worship? When you fail someone, what actions do you take to rectify the situations? I can't get past this. How do you feel about guns? What? That's the weirdest question you would ask someone. Like, and that's about marital roles? How is that a marital role? Are you honest? Yeah, if I'm a liar, I'm going to tell you if I'm a liar. How have you prepared yourself for marriage? What does leave and cleave mean to you? I don't even know what that means. Are you prepared to put your spouse first before all others, including your parents? Bethany, did you date someone that didn't put you before your husband or before your Okay, here's the moral standards that are super, super disgusting. What are your personal standards of dress? Describe your views towards dress of women. Now, these two girls wear pants, but they're all about modest pants and modest shirts. What is your view on public swimming? Nike, 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 John David, Nike. Because, you can't actually, go to the beach. Do you watch television and R-rated movies? PG movies? Or what was the last 5 movies you watched? Oh, wouldn't want to watch that R-rated movies. They might say the F word. What kind of music do you prefer? What does this have to do with your morals? Like, do you have any financial debt? What does financial debt have to do with your morals? Have you ever been in trouble with the law? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Yes, Bethany, I was arrested for a peaceful protest at the library after they stopped putting the Bible in the... It said you couldn't loan the Bible out anymore. And I protested and I got arrested, Bethany. And she'd be like, I'm going to marry you. What tendencies do you have towards prejudice or racism? You could probably figure that out. Have you ever wrestled with homosexual desires? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Dave, did you ever think about doing it with another boy? Oh, you did? Okay. Have you prayed that away? Okay, cool. Awesome, Dave. We don't have to worry about that, right? Because you went to that camp and you prayed it away, right? Cool. Because it's only a sin if you act on it. It's not a sin if you just think it and then you just pretend like you're attracted to me. It's only a sin if you act on it, Dave, okay? Are there any unsettled issues with your parents? Have you had periods of rebellion? God, these questions are so bad. What are your political leanings? Well, if you're not super conservative, Dave, you can't be my friend. What are your favorite sources for news? Fox. What is your attitude towards family, business? What do you value most highly in your life? What do you tend to do in your spare time? All of these questions are like self-serving. These are like what Bethany wondered, because she's like, Dave, I'm in a family business with my sister Kristen, and if you can't handle that, you can't marry me. What are your thoughts on immunizations? What are your thoughts? What is the role of psychology in the life of a Christian? Well, clearly you guys don't like psychology because you want to be the psychologists that tell people how to live. Do you prefer the cities, suburbs, or towns? I mean, what do you do in your spare time? Some of these aren't bad. Can Can you describe your life purpose? What would your wife and children play in your life purpose? What role would your job or career play in your life purpose? Do you see yourself spiritually in 10 years, 20 years, blah, 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 blah. Personal timetables for marriage. Like, are you going to get married tomorrow or like next week? Because if you're not, I have to go find another date, Dave. Like home cleaning, what tasks should be shared? What is an ideal non-special event? Now, children, should we have children? If so, how many? What are the standards for behavior? Yeah, because that works. What are appropriate ways to discipline them? Gross. What signs of affection will you show them? Are you seriously have to ask these questions? Will you hug your child? Will you own a home or why? What kind of neighborhood why? How many cars, new or used? Do you have to make money? How do you make money decisions? Now here we get to how much money should be spent on entertainment? How often should we eat out? What kind of vacations are appropriate and helpful for us? How many toys, snowmobiles, boats, or cabins should we have? These are questions that are literally so not important in the long term. Like, some of these things just simply don't need to be decided. And even if you know them ahead of time, does it really matter? It's like she wants to prepare for any possible thing. What makes you angry? How do you handle your frustration or anger? Who should bring up the issue when it's bothersome? If you agree both about what should be done and whether it's serious, will we go to bed angry at each other? What is your view on getting help from friends or counselors? Past struggles. Now, this is the part that's gross. Were you or have you been involved in any of the following? Constant thoughts about sex, self-pleasure. I'm going to move right off here. The P word, porking, or pornography. What was the other one? Erotica, X-rated video games and internet sites, or homosexuality. Seriously. Have you struggled with that? Okay, here's the thing, girls. If you're with a guy that's struggled with that, you probably should not date them because they're not going to be able to be you're not going to do it. It's not going to work. You can't cure that. These two are obsessed, absolutely obsessed with these aspects in relationships. And it's so weird to me that they spend so much time. This argument by them finds its way into every single facet of their lives. They are so against this lifestyle that it almost makes me wonder if one of them is actually gay. I'm not even lying. Bethany talks about it with such vigor and such conviction, and I've always been told that the people that are oppose things the most typically are the ones that have something to hide. We can think of a zillion different, like, super conservative Christian pastors that have later come out to be gay, and they admit that all of these things can't work. And these two promote, not acting on your SSA and instead just finding ways to suppress those feelings and finding either contentment and happiness in just being alone or pretending to be heterosexual. Like, if you had to ask the question, have you struggled with this? First of all, it's not a struggle. Those of us who have those feelings, we love it, right? If you are attracted to someone, you love that, right? It's not a struggle. I didn't know that self-pleasure was also a struggle. Most boys enjoy that immensely, as their mothers often find socks that are sticky in the corner, or they spend a little bit too much time in the shower. These two have such a twisted and annoying view on life and on dating. You know that they wrote those whole things, and the fact that the issues regarding sexuality appear multiple times tells me, and she said that she and Dave had to talk about all of these questions. I honest to God, believe these were like roadblocks in their relationship that they had to work through. That's just my opinion, but I get the sense that maybe both of them had to work through those issues because Bethany sure has lots of opinions about them. So, do you think that any of these questions are actually beneficial? Do you think that any of these questions would actually help you find your perfect mate? Yeah, they do. They talk about SSA a ton. It's like they're obsessed with SSA. I want to know what your thoughts are. The full 136 questions is available on their channel if you want it. You have to sign up for their newsletter. But if you want to be getting emails from Bethany and Kristen, their blog is amazing. I have noticed that their views on their channel are not doing as well as they used to. I think most people have realized what a bunch of turkey butts these two are. This video that I'm showing you right now only has 6,700 views on it as of today. And they have 152,000 subscribers. Think about that. They have 152,000 subscribers and literally nobody cares about their 136 questions. All right, you guys, tell me what your thoughts are. Are you going to use these questions to find your next mate? Do you struggle with SSA? If so, Bethany will date you. All right, you guys, I'll be back in a while. Bye.